Pixel Descent is a game by J.C. Bailey, who some of you may remember as the guy who created Mythbearer and Deep Rune, which were some kind of more puzzly games that I played before. This one is an action roguelite. It plays a bit like Gauntlet meets Vampire Survivors, I would describe it as. And it's been in early access for a while. A few months ago I played like 30 hours of it, but at the time I'm recording this, it's at version 0.99. It should be either released or about to be released as the full game at the time that this video airs. And so I just wanted to go ahead and show off a bit of the game today. And so I'm just going to have some footage that I'm going to do some voiceovers in order to show off a bit of the game because I think it's pretty good and some of you might enjoy it. So to start off the game, you'll be selecting what class you want to play, and I haven't even unlocked like half of them. There's a lot of different ones that have different powers. But at the very beginning, you start with Warrior, who is a basic class who throws axes, and is good in terms of just damage output. And so I'm going to be playing as kind of an early Warrior character here, and you'll quickly start to get a feel for the game. One thing to notice is that there's 3 little arrows pointing out near my character, and they're pointing to the location of 3 keys that exist. Now, whenever you level up, you'll get a choice of 3 boons that increase your character's stats for this run. I mentioned that it's a rogue-lite, and so basically you'll have stats that are going to be improving for this run, and here attack +5 is really nice, so I'm going to choose that one. You'll get random stats that are between +1 and +5 in terms of bonuses, as well as some upgrades to particular attack weapons that you can choose from each time you level up. But it is a roguelite, and so that means these stats are going to affect this run, but it won't carry over into future runs. And so the thing that does carry over into future runs is gold, and so the goal is going to be to kind of collect as much money as we can, so that you'll be able to purchase upgrades that you can use to upgrade the character's abilities and unlock new classes and different types of things in general. But you quickly get a sense of kind of like how the game plays out. There's hordes of enemies everywhere. There's these boxes that are glowing that are monster spawners that'll kind of continually spawn monsters unless there aren't any adjacent spaces to spawn the monsters into, or unless you're currently attacking them. And so periodically more monsters will come out. As you kill monsters or monster spawners, they drop these little blue and green coins that are experience. And as you get enough experience, you can see the bar at the top of the screen that's going to be creeping up. And once it fills all the way up, that's your next level up, and that's when you get the choice of 3 different things that you can choose to level up. And you can either have the level ups be automatic, or you can have to press a key in order to select them. I'm playing with mouse and keyboard, and so I have the thing where I press a key to actually activate my level ups. In this case, in the upper right, it says I'm level 6, and there's a little 1 in parentheses. There's actually a level up pending that I didn't notice for a little bit. And so until I actually press the key to activate the next level up, I won't get its choice of boons. But yeah, like I said, you can play with keyboard and mouse, or you can play with a controller. I'm playing with keyboard and mouse, but since I'm selecting the boons with my mouse, I don't want to be moving away from where I'm aiming my attacks with my mouse while I'm playing. So those are teleporters, and so basically each teleporter comes in pairs, and when you stand on it, it teleports you to the other teleporter of its pair, which will bring you somewhere else on the random dungeon floor. And we've already seen like half of this floor or whatever. Like I think all the floors are the same size, and they're maybe, I don't know, somewhere in the range of like 4 times as big as what fits on your screen. There's a variety of different like video sizes in terms of display sizes that you can use. So I'm not sure exactly how that works. When you're choosing the boons, Boomerang Axe, for example, is my secondary weapon. You have a primary weapon and a secondary weapon. I finally used the other level up that I had pending. In this case, Boomerang Axe is the secondary weapon that's activated by right-clicking if you're using the mouse. The primary weapon you could activate by left-clicking, or it's usually the case that you just want to leave auto-attack on. I forget if it's the default. There's a few different options. And so I just have auto-attack on, which means you're just always attacking at maximum speed, which is why my character is just constantly throwing axes, which is typically what you want. You do have to be careful. Okay, this is like a mini-boss guy. He shoots a lot of projectiles. You may have noticed that there's two different types of projectiles. There's red ones and purple ones. The red ones can be blocked by your attacks. The purple ones cannot. Or at least that's the short version. There's a bit of depth to those mechanics. But I've been collecting keys. The gold key is in this room over here, and I just recently got the silver key. So if I touch the silver door, it will unlock it. You need to be careful about when you choose to unlock various doors, because they're going to give monsters paths to you. And you can see the monster pathfinding is pretty straightforward. I'm choosing Boomerang Axe again, that's my secondary weapon, which is good for cutting through hordes of monsters. The secondary weapon, by the way, in the upper left, uses mana. So there's the red thing, which is your health, and there's the blue thing, which is your mana, and I've basically run out of mana. You can refill each of them with potions that you'll occasionally find in the dungeons on the floor or in pots. And it's also the case that health and mana regenerate over time. Sometimes pots will have an enemy in them, like that one just did. But I've got the gold key. There's a chest, which turned out to be a mimic. But even if it's a mimic, you're still going to get a lot of money. But the chests that are often locked behind gold doors are some of the most profitable bits of the dungeon. And in terms of the rogue-lite meta progression, you want to get as much money as you can. So at this point, I've received all three keys, copper, silver, and gold, in the upper left. And the little arrow that's next to my character now points toward the exit. Now that I have all three keys, it tells you how to get to the exit stairs, which are located in the bottom right of this particular random level. But it's the case that now that I've got all the keys, I'd at least like to try to clean up and get a little bit more money. And so I'm searching for some easy-to-pick-up money bags and treasure chests at this point. And in the upper right, you can see I'm up to 379 money on this run. And in the early game, before you have bought many of the upgrades that make you stronger, it is the case that I found it hard to even get through like 1 or 2 levels of the game. And so in this run, I had kind of reverted my save to somewhere that I'd only bought a few power-ups, and so I was relatively weak like you would be at the start of the game, just to show off what it is like near the beginning of the game. And yeah, the last thing I think I'm going to try to do on this level is basically get this chest, which is not a mimic, hooray. And at the top of the screen, you'll notice it just went past 6 minutes, and now there's a red timer counting down. You have 7 minutes on each level, and during that time, like once that time expires, once you get 7 minutes into the level, an invincible ghost, kind of like in Spelunky, appears and starts harassing you. And so basically that's a way to just encourage you to move on to the next floor. And once you have the ability to get to the exit stairs, which is kind of like the goal of each floor, there's the exit in the bottom right. You can go at any time. It's often the case that if you still have health, you want to stick around. You will get healed completely before going to the next floor, but it's good to stick around either to kill more monsters to get more experience and level ups, or to try to get more gold, since those are kind of like, until you get to the point to where you're able to get to the end of the game, there's kind of 10 levels that leads to a boss. Or at least there was when I played in early access. They might have added more, and there might be more like final boss kind of stuff now. I've only played a couple of hours since many changes and things were made to the game. But it was already fun back then, and they've made a couple of clear improvements. I'm saying J.C. Bailey has made a couple of clear improvements to the game since I played it in early access. The main weapon, by the way, always shows up in yellow, and so when you have the option of upgrading your main weapon, is usually what you want to do, since you're using your main weapon kind of all the time. Your secondary weapon shows up in a different color. Is it like orange or purple or something? Notice, by the way, these floor spikes. they will attack the player, but they also attack the enemies that walk over them. And so you can use the floor spikes to your advantage. You'll notice I was kind of disco dancing up and down in order to coerce. Yeah, it shows up in orange, the secondary weapon. In that case, I chose attack +4. Attack +4 or attack +5 are very good power-ups, since they affect both your main attack and your secondary attack. And so sometimes I'll choose to take one of those rather than taking another good thing that upgrades my primary or secondary weapon. But yeah, a lot of this game, I feel like, at least in terms of my own playstyle, involves kind of managing what directions the enemies can come at you and trying to use things like these floor spikes to try to thin out the enemies and whittle them down. And so over here I'm going to do some dancing around to try to coerce enemies to walk onto more of these floor spikes. Although I should have gone around the corner between some of the floor spikes over there. I end up kind of getting myself cornered down here. I did not play this optimally. But yeah, I'm not going to try to talk through, I don't know, every strategy you can use in this game. I just kind of want to give a taste for how it plays out. But yeah, I found that in the early game, my runs would only last, like I would die on the first or second level. And I'm going to go a little bit too aggressive into this zone and end up taking a death here. Speed +5 is very good. I feel like it's a noticeable difference in the player's move speed when you get speed +5, which I think is a 10% increase. Speed is somewhat important when you're just kind of fighting around the levels and trying to avoid bad guys. Speed is also important somewhere else that we'll see a little bit later. But in any case, that gives you a feel for a run. And then at the end of your run, it gives you kind of a summary and shows you, you know, all the gold you collected. I collected almost 1,500 gold on this run. And yeah, I have 151,000 gold left to spend because I kind of refunded all my upgrades, or just about all of them, in order to show off what the game is like at the beginning. But then you can go into the shop and actually spend your money. I'm going to mouse over a few of the options, but not all of them because, yeah, I want people to explore the game on their own if they want to go ahead and play. But in any case, that shows kind of an early stage run. I'm now going to actually spend my money to upgrade a bunch of my stuff and play a different character class and show you a bit of what it's like kind of in the later game. So I've bought back lots of upgrades. You have the option at any time between runs to go ahead and like refund a particular upgrade and get the gold back, and then you can go and buy it back later. And so basically it just gives you the flexibility to change your build. But in any case, I'm going to go with those upgrades, and I'm going to play an archer. And archer, honestly, it's not the most interesting class, but I like it because it is very, I don't know, easy and straightforward to play. And I don't know that I'm great at this game. But already you can see, for example, like I'm firing much faster. I am... Let's go ahead and take that. And standard shot. Great. My main attack. I'm firing much faster and dealing more damage against certain enemies. Sometimes you will see that the arrow that I am firing will be purple, and that just means that I'm getting a crit. I'm getting overwhelmed here as I try to talk and do this at the same time. Let's maybe use a few more piercing volleys. It is the case that, like in games like Gauntlet, which I just remember is like a big arcade cabinet that I played at the arcade long ago, that you can melee enemies and it deals damage to them, so while you're going to take damage, actually just walking right up into the enemies, I guess I can show it, it will also kill them. Well, I guess my arrows got him there. But I've already taken a lot of damage. That's okay. It's the first level and I will recover. I've got a fair amount of health regeneration, and there's a health potion up there, for example, that I will get once I can get to the other side of this, either via the silver key, let's increase my standard shot, or by finding some other way around there. Here we go, I found my way around. So in any case, you've already seen a bit of level 1, so I'm going to skip ahead a couple of levels and show off some stuff that comes in later. Sometimes between levels you'll get a treasure vault. I won't show off everything that's in here, but there's lots of money and some other cool stuff that you can get. So I've just started the 4th floor, and I don't know that I'd mentioned the fact that each floor has different music, as well as kind of different enemies and layouts and things. But yeah, I just thought it'd be good to jump into a little bit later. The farther along you get, like, the more difficult things are in terms of there's more open areas with spawners at the start where monsters can get to you, for example, as well as just some more difficult setups in a variety of spots. We've got a long, narrow path here where I'm kind of bottlenecked, for example. And so I'm just trying to work my way around the outside of this level before unlocking anything and take out some of the outside spawners. Before I start working my way into the inside, I can see the copper key is coming up in this little room that I can get to through the cracked walls. So let's get rid of some of the bad guys first. But at this point I think we're well enough protected to go ahead and break in here. I'm going to use my secondary attack, which spreads 3 arrows at once and does some enemy penetration in order to get through there. And then the silver key is somewhere up and to the right. There it is. So let's try to make my way over there next. I think it's not always required for you to get all 3 keys in order to get through the level, but usually it is, and usually it's kind of in the copper, silver, gold progression. Speed plus 5 is good. I like speed. And yeah, you can see that the spawners in here have already densely packed this area full of enemies, so I'm just going to kind of give up some ground and back off while I kill out the ones who have already spawned, and then get a chance to rush in, possibly using my extra attack. There's a mini-boss here. This guy's going to fire a lot of projectiles and manage to hit me with some. Then we take him out and get a bunch of experience. Alright, but I will see you again in another level or two. Alright, I'm starting floor number 6 now, the Ancient Tomb. And at this point the monsters have started getting very fast. But I've got a lot of level ups. In fact, if I pause real quick, I've got my standard shot up to 10, which I think is maxed out. Piercing volley, my secondary attack, is up to level 7. And due to all the rogue-like kind of things, I have a lot of bonuses on a number of things here. So I'm still holding my own reasonably well if I play well. But yeah, you can see, for example, even walking down here, all of a sudden I've opened up this path where these guys have managed to come around the corner, and I get kind of overwhelmed by a backlog of bad guys who had spawned somewhere up here. Alright, let's take this level up. Dexterity is good. Fire my shots even more quickly. But where did these guys spawn from? There must be a spawner in this zone somewhere that they came from. I guess there's one down here. Just a lot of open spaces. Copper key is down here, but I don't immediately see how to get to it. I can get to the silver key directly, though. Oh gosh, that's a mini-boss. Alright, managed to take him out. Let's use my secondary attack to hit multiple enemies at once here. Thin out the numbers. But yeah, there's a lot of bad guys who've already spawned in this room, and a lot of spawners to get through to get to the silver key. So I'm going to kind of take my time so I don't get completely overwhelmed. Okay, now we've thinned out the mobs enough that I should just be able to get in here. Let's do a couple of secondary attacks to pierce through some spawners. Increase my piercing volley a little bit more. Alright, but there's a case where I got the silver key before getting the copper key. The gold key, I can see my gold arrow is pointing up here, so I'm going to go ahead and head in its direction right now. And, oh my goodness, once again, so many bad guys. I see that there's a mana potion up there, so I'm going to use my secondary shot rather freely to thin out these enemies a little bit more quickly, since I'll get some of it back in just a moment. There's also a health potion up there, which is great. And there's another level up. Given the choice of these, I think attack is always good, since they were all just +1. But here's the gold key. And there's my mana just about refilled. Still don't have the copper key, though. Oof. That ended quickly. Alright, but that was a good run. Got 48 minutes. Oh, I had a pending level up that I never used. Oops. Level 63 Archer. And so I managed to get 13,000 gold on that run. And yeah, I hope this gave you a taste of the game. I don't know that I'd mentioned that there's options for 4-player local co-op. And yeah, here's the credits. There's different music for different levels, and JC Bailey, as I mentioned, is the developer. And on the options screen, I have auto attack on. I have manual level up, where I have to press a key to actually do the level ups. Showing the key markers, just the little arrows. Yeah. Alright. I think I showed off enough of the game. This is a game that I wouldn't like Let's Play, but I could see myself streaming at some point. It kind of fits in the category of Vampire Survivors or Forager. It's just kind of games that you don't quite have to turn your brain off. Like, compared to Vampire Survivors, I feel like there's a lot more active play in this one. But it's a nice game when you just want to kind of relax and shoot some stuff and watch numbers go up. So I wanted to show it off for you all. I hope you all are having a great day, and I will see you again soon with more games. For now, bye-bye.